All right. Just gotta figure out all my settings here. Looks like I'm too loud. Let me turn that down a little bit. Oh my gosh. I updated some software with my audio recently, and it looks like it thinks I'm louder than I used to be. Uh, that's what my siblings always said. You're too loud, Josh. You're too loud. All right. Let me hello, Andrew. Trying to figure myself out here. OBS feels weird today, but I think it's all set up. So, hello everyone. Probably gonna be a small group. We didn't really push out all the socials because of my need to reschedule and all the things, but smaller is good. I was listening to a stream recently that had just way too many people in the chat, and I was just curious how anybody felt that was useful. Just thousands of people trying to talk at the same time, and I was like, how could anybody possibly pay attention to that? You're just like yelling at a concert, and nobody can hear you, but you still do it anyway. So today we're gonna do some dev. I'll talk to myself a lot. I'll write some code. I'll break some things, and throw in some trivia about what we're working on and various other things throughout the thing. I'll probably be here for a couple of hours, regardless of how many people do end up showing up, because I need to make some progress on what I'm working on, and I've been a little distracted this week working on a few other things. So hello to the people that are here. I'm wondering how this time works for everybody. I know that Europe time, it's a little weird. US time, it's the end of the day Friday. For me, I'm Midwest, so it's 3 o'clock for me, and so I still have a couple of hours left in my day, and I'm going to spend it here. So yeah, we'll get some stuff done, have some fun, chat a little bit, talk some games, that sort of thing. Well, as I like to do, I have my markdown document up here where we're going to talk about a few things and then we'll dive in. If you did attend 10 p.m. in Poland, for some reason I thought Europe was like way later than that, because somebody on our team is they live out of the Ukraine, and it's, for some reason, when I talk to them at this time, I feel like, oh my gosh, why are you still up? Poland is a very beautiful country. One of our designer that we've been working with for a few months, he is currently living in Poland as well, and very beautiful. He sends pictures. I get jealous because I live just outside Chicago, and if you know anything about the Midwestern United States, it's very boring. It's flat. There's not a whole lot going on. Lots of just flat. Lots of farms, some trees. If you look, you might find some nature and whatnot. And I live far enough away from Chicago that I don't really see it unless I drive a little bit. So it's very suburban United States with just little businesses and houses, and it's not super exciting. And so when he sends me pictures of the mountains or anything really, it's like, I'm so jealous. I wish, and it wouldn't take me too long to get to somewhere that pretty in the United States, but here I am. It works for us. I have a couple of kids going to school, so I can't really pick up and just rip them out of that at the time being. So we'll wait until they're done, and then who knows, maybe Poland. All right, so if you were in on the stream yesterday with Brian, our good product manager friend Farron, he gave a lot of updates. I'll give a quick recap. Windows is in beta, and this beta number 4, I believe, has a number of lovely things in it. Most notably, we were talking about SQLite. according to the developer of SQLite. They want to be called SQLite. I can't say it. Which you'll most notice it with performance memory issues. It should launch faster. It should use less memory. It should just be generally better. And along for the ride, we have .NET 9 coming from 6. Oh my gosh, so old. So we're glad to have these two things, which should also come with some performance and memory usage, especially as we are able to update everything else, and a variety of related performance and memory usage things. There's a trend, there's a theme about what we're working on, and so hopefully if you've had a chance to play with the beta, you can see those things, and if not, we're aiming for a release soon, hopefully next week, if not very, very soon, for those to get and start playing with. The only downside that we've really noticed is some plugins are having some compatibility issues, and we're working as best we can with the plugin developers and the community at large to identify those and work through those. But anytime you change how a system completely works, you end up with these sorts of things, and we mitigated those risks as much as we can, but because of our very open plugin infrastructure, it was hard to really constrain what developers were doing, because they could just write whatever code they wanted, which could assume how LaunchBox was working, especially with like how the database is being stored for the games DB and so on and so forth. But not too many issues reported there. Android is also in beta. I don't know, number whatever. And it's largely a bug fix update from the last major update. We switched to Maui, which brought a lot of great things for us as developers, but also some baggage with some of the things that we're finding. And so this beta is shaping up to be a lot cleaner, but it also improved upon the NAS support and so on and so forth. So that's been exciting. GamesDB behind the scenes is getting some Vue.js, Next.js love and some new styling and blah, 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 pretty stuff. And we're working through some final issues, and hopefully we'll get our very first baby step into getting, it's not a baby step as far as the amount of work it was, but baby step into this new thing soon, next couple of few weeks, hopefully. And what else? Well, we launched a new feedback forum. Probably a repeat for those who have gone there, but now from the application itself or from our website, anytime you click on these types of links, you can request features for any of our products or submit a bug. And a few things are in here, so do participate in this and vote and submit your own things. So hopefully this is a much better thing than this godforsaken pile of. If you could take a website out back and just set it afire, I think this is a site that I would want to do it. Bitbucket is the company Atlassian. I don't really like anything they've ever made, except they did make a Git control product. What was it, Source Tree? That was good for a while, but then I found something better. I hate Bitbucket. I hate Jira. I enjoyed HipChat. If anybody can go throw back and remember HipChat, they bought HipChat, which was like the thing that existed before Slack took over the world. That was really good, but then they killed it because Slack kicked their butts. And I heard a rumor that Jira, big company, Atlassian is huge. Like they just spent about $1 billion buying this Loom which is ridiculous. Like, that's a lot of money for a little video recorder. So they got money, but Jira is losing to all of the newer issue boards, like the one that we're leaning into, which is a feature-based, really good product. We're enjoying it so far. And near as I know, all of the links to help, we found them all, and hopefully they all go to the right place. So if you do see anything odd, do let us know. You can submit a bug on our feedback forum, which, if you can't find the link, is just feedback.launchbox.gg, which is the domain that we've been using for some of our newer things as we play around with some new technologies. I'm excited about this. I like new technology that has APIs and access points and entry points and things that we can do, and it's of course got some AI stuff built in, but with an API we could do our own language modeling or who knows what's, but the voting is going to be how the voting is going to be how we prioritize the feedback that we get from the community. We obviously have our own roadmap of things that we'd like to work on, but that roadmap can be heavily influenced by really popular ideas through here. Just close out of everything. Feedback site. So that's all new. And really beyond that, behind the scenes, I think that's all the stuff that's made it public. I guess the feedback site is demonstrative of some of the work that we did last. Let me open this in incognito. On the last stream that I did, I worked on the very, very beginnings of a single sign-on solution. Because right now, for those, there's a login here, that's its own thing. There's a login here, that's its own thing. There's a login here, that's its own thing. There's not even a login here. It's just all based on email, but it's its own thing. All of the things, it's porn mode. I think that's what they first called it originally. As a developer, it's get rid of all my cookies mode. So I do use it a lot. The incognito, at least for Chrome, I use Edge just because I'm a Google hater. I don't really like Google either. But it used to be, it used to have things alluding to what you were doing. Your activity will still be visible to these places, but anywho, we have lots of logins, and I'd like to have one. It's one of the things that I really think would really help us out a lot with supporting things. People that lose their license or need help connecting purchases up to histories and gamer tags being synced between what's shown in the app and this, that, and the other thing. And when you have LaunchBox open, it sort of has a login to a few things. I'm just launching LaunchBox up from another screen, and I immediately got an error because I broke things earlier as I was trying to play with stuff. So maybe don't load the dev instance, Josh. But anyways, it's got a login to the games DB, and there's some associated logins to things like RetroArch, or Retro Achievements, and Emma Movies. And I think it'd be nice to have a place that we could store on your behalf all of those details so that every time you set up a new device, it just works. The LaunchBox motto, everything should just work. So that's what I worked on last week, and this button right here, login with LaunchBox, is in spirit a result of what we did on the stream. I'll show you how it actually works, but you log in here, it goes back to feature-based. They're using a pretty standard single sign-on, a very simple token sharing model. It's kind of like OAuth, super light, but it works. And near as I can tell, it's pretty secure because they don't see any of your details other than what we want to share with them. All the logins are over here. And the goal is to take that. We're going to delete this. So we can just close that. And first on the list is to take all the login related things here and move it into the single sign-on solution. Oh gosh, we got a spam. Hardney nag. I gotta figure out how to moderate. Can I not do that from that screen? Oh my gosh. I don't often have to do moderation stuff. People don't target us. All right, let's go into Twitch. I did not open up my thing. I thought I could do it from OBS. Like, I see the option there. I can mute them. Can I delete them? No. Oh my gosh, I gotta learn something here. Channel. How does moderation work? All right, it's not that. I thought it was this screen. I'm on my other monitor, sorry for the lack of... Oh, manage stream, that looks quite promising. This doesn't really give me what I want. I've honestly never done this before. My career in streaming is pretty young. All right, how do I do anything? I don't know. It's got to be a way to switch to... Ooh, there's turn on... Nope, that's not it. I'm learning very slowly. All right. I'm gonna have to figure out a different thing because that's not working. Technology. Oh my gosh. Shut up. Oh my gosh. So many screens. Mod view. There's a button that looks promising. I don't have any idea. I guess we're just gonna have to ignore it. I don't have any idea how to work anything. It's gonna bother me. Thank you, Farron. You're gonna have to show me what buttons I don't know how to do. Or you could tell me. I'm logged in as lots of things. There was no buttons. Do I just ban the person and then it deletes everything? No, I should try banning you just to see if it works. All right, well, thank you, Hardney Nag, for that distraction. So we have a lot of login related things on here. This is the one we're going to effectively steal and move into the single sign-on solution. And I've written a lot of code between last week, but the piece that we got working was the feedback form, which I'm really excited about. But the next step is to take registration and forgot password and the basic login stuff and rip that out and move it over to the new solution, which is going to be built on top of modern .NET stuff, along with some support for OpenID as well. OpenID OAuth. We're going to be using a library called OpenID Dix. I don't know how they're supposed to say it. They have the IDICT, OpenIDICT. We'll just go with that. So that we can use OAuth for lots of things and eventually probably be able to add, like, you know, a lot of websites have the login with button, and don't have that right now, and I think adding Google and Discord maybe could be really useful for new users. But we got to get some technology, got to do some of the technical debt, and that's doing some not boring, but simple stuff. Straightforward. It's not simple because I don't know. I have any idea how to use this thing, and I'm still learning. But we can dive in. I think that's all my updates. Oh, that was supposed to go here. I already typed it. And then today, we're going to do more SSO. I can do a quick review of what we've done and see where we go from here. Let me zoom in a little bit so everybody can see everything. All right, so this project right here is a lot of our web stuff. It does not have the www.launchbox site, but it has everything to do with the games database and some API stuff that we have supporting, and that's where I put this authentication thing, because I wanted to kind of just piggyback off of what the games database was. Excuse me, I need a drink. It's going to piggyback off of the games database login system that already exists, so that people don't have to create brand new accounts. We're going to migrate those into the new system, and so I wanted to build that here. But the work that I did last week ultimately was just sort of shoved right into the existing games database site because I wanted to make it quick. But if I go into here, hopefully there's no secrets. No secrets. Did put those into an environment setting at least. But ultimately what happens is you go to FeatureBase, our feedback site, and you click login, and that takes us to this endpoint, and they tell us where to send them back to, where the user should go back to, which ultimately looks like this URL right here. No, not that one. I would have to show you the secrets because it's in the same file, but we send them back here with a token in the thing. And so this is all just setting up the data that we want to send. Right now we're sending your username, we call it the gamer tag, your email, and a unique ID. And it gets sent over, it gets encrypted and JWT'd up and sent back over to them as a token. And then they're able to validate the data that we put in that token because we're encoding it using a secret that they provided us. So it's typical encryption sharing of data using normal JWT tokens, and it works pretty simply, and it's honestly this amount of code. So this will become a part of the new single sign-on solution. But on the stream last week, what we started was this project right here, which is a very clean .NET project that I can just go through a quick little tutorial for the coders in the room. For the non-coders in the room, look at the pretty colors. It's a lot different than all of the movies that portray coding that are like zooming through 3D spaces and like Tron style navigation of computers, or typing into an Excel file on a Windows phone, or I love computer scenes on movies. They're a lot of fun. But anyway, so we are building on top of a bunch of technology that we don't have to build ourselves. All we have to build are a little bit of connection between things. To start it off, we're going to be using not a SQLite database for this one, but just for development purposes, it's really quick. We'll be pointing it to an actual SQL database using Entity Framework, and we're going to let OpenID bring some tables along for the ride, and I can show you what those look like. We're going to use pieces of Microsoft's identity framework. We're not going to use any of the like Microsoft accounts or any of the like Windows logins or any of the fancy stuff. This is just a normal username and password thing, and this account entity right here is straight from the games database, and so we'll be moving that data into the single sign-on solution. We're doing some other setup in here. We are using normal cookie-based authentication on the single sign-on server itself, so that when you log in, that's how it tracks whether or not you're logged in. I thought I'd have some fun with the cookie name, and I called it a player biscuit. And we have some anti-forgery, some CSRF stuff, cross-site request forgery things, and to continue along with the theme of biscuits, I went with trusty tokens as the cross-site note. And the way that a CSRF works, if you're not familiar with, is every time you load a page, it puts a token on the page, and it puts it in a cookie, because thank you, autocomplete, or I guess AI is doing that for me. But the token's in the cookie, and then there's also a different token as part of the form, or it's in a different cookie, depending on how you want to set it up. Both of those values get sent to the server. The idea being that this one that's part of the form could only possibly be put there by code running on the page, because like server side, it's putting that token there, and the cookie also can only be put there by the system, and so there'd be no way for fake launchbox.gg to possibly impersonate any of these things, because this cookie is secured to same site, and the browser is going to handle all the security for that, and it's only being sent with HTTP requests and blah blah blah. There's stuff that goes along with that. It is not a protection against cross-site scripting. That would still be a possibility if we had user-submitted content. But we have a hidden trusty token that is ultimately used. We're not actually going to be using Razor Pages, so I could delete that. A bunch of crap set up on how OpenID is going to work. No idea if any of this is correct, because we haven't got to that point yet. Some of our endpoints for getting some login to work. This is where I spent some of my time, and other stuff to get the site running. Average game noob. Johnny Mnemonic is a fun one. Yeah, all those old movies, and I don't think they've gotten better since ever. I think they're still crap. It's just, I don't know why. Coding is just boring, I think, visually. It's not very exciting, and so they need to make it feel like The Matrix, or my favorite is Hackers. I can't remember the lady actress that was the lead on that one, but it was so ridiculous that even as a kid, before I was really a coder, I knew that it was so stupid. But it's fun. I enjoyed it. All right, so what we have our DB context, which right now has a single account record, which is a steal from what we have on the games database, which has, email, password, blah, blah, blah stuff. Nothing too exciting there. And we're also using OpenID Dick's stuff, which if I can find my data thingamajigger, I can show you the tables it brought along. As any OAuth solution is going to have, it's going to have at the base these things. So applications would be clients. So in our case, we're going to have a record in here for the games database, and we're going to have a record in here for the forums, and all of the different places that we want to allow to have a login using our system. It's going to be in here, and we're going to put secrets. This is very similar to probably what FeatureBase has on their side for ours. This is the JWT token secret, and a bunch of other things to dictate what that client can do. And in maybe some distant future, if there was any third-party services that wanted to have a login with LaunchBox button, we'd be able to do that with this thing here. Tokens are created every time you log in to track your login. The token that's communicated during that authorization is tracked here so that we can expire them all at once if we had a security concern, or we can just keep an eye on it. This table will need to be cleaned up periodically, because otherwise it'll get really big. Scopes is probably not something we'll use right away, because we only have really minimal amount of data that the single sign-on server itself needs to share. And last but not least, authorizations. This is ultimately it's similar in spirit to the tokens. Every time you log in, you're technically getting authorized to have access to certain things, and so it tracks that authorization and blah, blah, blah. So we don't really have to worry about those too much, other than it'd be nice to look at them in my monitor 8 up the top of my screen here. Awesome. I do have a bit of OCD. Oh my gosh, an update. I really can't help click on updates. It just bothers me to see badges, but it looks like the badge went away as soon as I clicked on that, so I can deal with that. So we're using Entity Framework with our single entity. We'll also add in this one. As you probably know, on the games database, you can have, for most users, one of two roles. You can just be a user of the site. I want to maintain a collection. I want to, just browse around the site and have LaunchBox track my play times and star ratings and those sorts of things. That's just a normal user. And if you're not one of those, you can be a moderator, which lets you review submitted changes to games information, and then admin is reserved for LaunchBox staff to do admin-y things. But I haven't hooked up the roles yet because it doesn't really matter for what I'm working on right now. And yeah, so all of the code, we're using a specific architecture for endpoints. So this is just basically creating endpoints. A very simple one would be like logout. So we specify the URL and what it does. And since we're building on top of .NET, we don't have to do much code. We just have to tell .NET, go ahead and sign this user out, and then that's it. Login is a little bit more complicated because we have to verify that the user is there and the account's not disabled or locked out and all this stuff, but it's really just a bunch of checks, ultimately returning a bunch of errors, or in the case of our login, redirecting to the consumer, whoever wanted to ask us to get logged in, which for most of our usages will be OpenID itself. A little bit of magic for the cross-site, not the cross-site, cross-site request forgery stuff. And again, .NET makes that really easy. Just a couple lines of code. Ultimately, it's really just this. And just by adding this and a couple of other setup stuff, this login page is automatically protected by anti-forgery requests without us doing any additional work on here. Simply by the fact that we're accepting a form submission, it automatically gets hooked up. And then this is going to be deleted at some point. I was just playing around with how OpenID dict works without a login screen. Like right now, the LaunchBox app, you type in the username and password directly inside of the application, and then it gets sent up to our server and it returns a JWT token. If we wanted to replicate that behavior, we would need something like this. To allow that username and password to be authenticated through OpenID dict so it can manage the token and then return it back. Probably won't want to do that. Would rather do the thing that most applications do now, where when you click login, it opens up your browser and you log in normally, and then that kicks back a token to the client so that the username and password is never entered into the application itself. And that's it. So that's what we have now. And so what I've been doing is hooking up all these things and getting everything to play nicely together so that we could start working probably today on some of the things. I had talked about wanting to look at like registration. I don't have anything to do registration in here right now. So we'll just create a new endpoint for that. Maybe forgot password, a little bit more complicated because there's emails and links involved there. But we'll just code and see where we end up. No promises of anything actually working ever, but we'll do what we can. All right, registration, that should be pretty easy. I'll just get the basics out of the way. And we can actually look at what the existing site is doing. And the existing site is accepting email, password. It's got some validation on here, confirm password, gamer tag, and then it's returning some success. So we really care about these fields. And I wonder, create Poco from these fields and Fluent, and replace data annotations with Fluent validator, which I'll show you what that looks like. If you, so everything but the Fluent validation. Okay, so I gave it a go. AI is only so good. Oh my gosh, it completely ruined the whole file. Okay, so let's move this over to here. So we're defining all the responses and requests. Oh, I lost it. It's not on my clipboard anymore. Do it again. Well, other than Johnny Mnemonic, can anyone think of any other movies that have really good gaming or coding scenes while I fight with UI a little bit here? Or fight with AI, not UI. Same difference, I guess. This thing is not very smart. I'd prefer a record. Did we get a record? Oh, now it's just deleting everything. Oh my gosh. I heard a rumor that Visual Studio Code is going to get better models from probably OpenAI that are a little smarter. Most of the time I do use ChatGPT directly. Let's see if I can do a better job. All right, here's ChatGPT. I got the little app installed. Let's just minimize all that and see if I just take this whole thing. I would like this class to be a record type with Fluent validation or validation. It's usually so much better. And with ChatGPT, since I give them a little bit of money, I have access to, it looks like I've used, oh, I created a new project. I've never done that before. New, but this is exactly what I want. So we'll let it type this out. A buddy of mine asked me after I'm done streaming to come over to their place, like an in-person gaming session, which I don't get to do that often. And we're gonna play a game that I've only ever heard of, which is Broforce, like Broforce, and I don't know anything about it. I'm avoiding looking at anything, just because I want to be like brand new to it. Let's see what this thing did. All right, so created our record. I don't think we need to seal it because it's not that exciting. It's going to be a nested thing here. We got Fluent validation. Messed up our spacing here. All right, so it's got email, password, confirm password, gamer tag, and we don't actually want those things in here. Did I ever see Mr. Robot? Maybe. I watched lots of movies with, this better be safe for work. Oh, I did see this. This was on Netflix, I think, at some point. I'm trying to, no, I didn't see this. I'm thinking of something else. I've seen the trailer for this. But this guy looks familiar. I don't know what he... Oh, it's that guy. I know him. No, I meant to watch this, but like a lot of things, it got on the meant to watch list. Oh, like how many seasons? Like, what am I committing to? I generally avoid TV shows because It's like so much, because there's so much of it. And like, I prefer TV shows. Like, I like to watch the new Netflix style TV shows, like where you just wait for everything to exist. Like the whole season's out and you can just go binge it over a weekend or something. But as soon as but then I'll oh, well, I want to kind of wait till maybe there's another season because I don't know if Netflix is going to cancel it. Then I wait, and then they do it again, and then it's like, oh, well, now there's 3 seasons, and I don't really want to commit to watching 3 seasons of a show, and then there's like 4 and 5, and I never end up watching it. So I if I'm gonna watch something, I'll end up watching a movie because I know that it's 2 hours and I'm done, and I don't have to think about it again, which I much prefer. All right, so this is Fluent Validation, which is a really nice, visually descriptive validation library. You just use Fluent notation to say what all the rules are, and then it's done. And then all you have to do in your code is to say is does it meet that validation, and it's fast and it runs, and I like it. I don't actually want the language coming from here. That's going to have to happen elsewhere because we eventually would need to localize all this, and I don't want to have to deal with that here. So I'm just going to clean all this up. Probably would need more, add all the rules for password. Confirm password. I'm trying to think of the Netflix movie that it was a movie, and this kid was working on like a phone that exploded or something, and it went in his head. Like the pieces of the phone went in his head, and he became part cell phone. And it wasn't a very good movie. I'll say that if you find it, there's lots of better things in the world, but that was what I thought of when you said Mr. Robot. And again, AI would probably do this really nice and easy. We'll deal with language later. It's one thing that the game's DB is not localized. And honestly, we don't get asked to localize it very often, excepting for like regional things, like the names of genres or the names of games, of course, and how they are regionally different. But not a lot of people saying, hey, I can't use your site because I don't speak English natively. I would rather it be XYZ. But LaunchBox itself is localized in a number of languages, and we have a very trusty set of translators that really give us a lot of support. All right, so we got all that going on. Just looking at some stuff here. Okay. Trying to remember how. That doesn't matter. All right, back to register. I made changes here. I didn't mean to. Oh, I added that. What did I add here? Oh, I just cleaned up some spacing. Yeah. That's what I get for leaving all these files open. My browser almost always has 8 million tabs open, but in my code editors, I can't stand it. I need to have this represent what I'm working on, because otherwise I get really confused. All right, so we have all this, we have our validation. I'm gonna open up login for reference because it has the setup for how we're gonna handle validation. And then we can just test the validation real quick and make sure it's all working. And these Giant fonts. All right. I have been a .NET developer since .NET Beta 1. Let me see if I can find out when that came out. So .NET 1, Beta 1 was when I started coding. So this is the .NET release history. So .NET 1 came out in 2002, and so I started using it before that. I'm trying to think, like, because I was in college. I graduated college in 2002, I think. Let's see, I would have started, yeah, I think I graduated December of 2002, and the .NET project I work on was during my junior or senior year. So yeah, I've been coding .NET since, gosh, 2001. And it has changed a lot over the years. You have to type a lot less. I wonder if coding is like retro video gaming, where if you go back to the old languages, that it's like nostalgic. I'm guessing you just hate it though. Kind of like Minecraft, I guess, right? That game has been around forever, but it's like the same game forever, but they've changed it over the years. And if you were to go back to Minecraft version 1, be like, this is a dumb game. Compare it to Minecraft. There's not that many games that have just existed and evolved for that long. Coding is kind of similar, but and that's why I feel like if I went back and just tried to code in .NET 1 Beta 1, I would absolutely hate it. I wonder if, does archive.org still work, or did they finally hack that to death? I wonder if my very first .NET website it still exists. It was a masterpiece of I gotta figure out how to use the Wayback Machine. I want to see if it loads before I put it on the main screen. Alright, so we thought this was around 2002 or 1. So I see something on here for March of 2002. No, that wasn't there. Maybe it wasn't Beta 1, maybe it was Beta 2. I dare not show that one. Alright, let's try later 2002. Maybe August? Yeah, it was like the next school semester. I would have been working probably over the summer. Let's see how it looks. If it lets me load it. That date is not loading. No, that's still the old design. How about November of 2002? Man, maybe I have my timelines all wrong. All right, let's look into 2003 then. February 2003. Okay, this is it. All right, I'm embarrassed to show this off. But this was my very first .NET website. Everything I coded before this was either like Perl or PHP or even ASP, classic ASP. And I really liked ASP enough that I was willing to give Microsoft a shot with .NET itself. And so I reprogrammed CheckPost, which was my pride and joy at the time. I reprogrammed CheckPost in .NET, and my goal was, because in the early 2000s, yellow was just, and it's still like not a very popular color. And I remember finding one of the named colors. I wonder if I can find it, if it's still in here. They don't give me the name, but there was a named color. It was like pale goldenrod, or I don't remember what it was. And I was like, I want to make a site that's that color. And so I went all out and I made it yellow. And as you can tell, I'm not a designer. I'm a programmer that can make things look okay. I didn't do data migration, it looks like. That's funny. We have to do these. We got news. It looks like I broke some stuff on January 20th, as per usual. Oh, it looks like January 12th. This was the launch date of the new .NET site. Oh my gosh, this is nostalgic. So maybe coding in old code is not nostalgic, but looking at old code is. So yeah, Chegg. Chegg is something entirely different now. If you go to chegg.com, you won't see anything that has anything to do with anything that I've ever done. But Chegg was mine. And it was... So my nickname in high school was Chicken Man. I have a externally protruding chest deformity. It's not very obvious, you can't really tell, but my nickname was always Chicken Man because my chest kind of bowed out like a chicken. And my good friend Seeger, you'll see his name down here, I'm doxing myself here from the early 2000s, but Seeger, his nickname in high school was like the Spanish word for chicken, pollo or something. And so we created a little team up. We go chicken y pollo. So it's just chicken and chicken. And we wanted to create a fake company and fake websites. And so we created Chegg. And it was just a fun place. If you go to the Wayback Machine for Chegg.com from the olden days, it's probably all turned off because the current owners of Chegg probably got rid of it. But we just did a lot of fun. It was fun. It was a college boy fun thing. We had like pictures of chairs on fire and blah, blah, blah. We did stuff. But we decided that the egg was our mascot, and our tagline was, "Don't think it's hard," because we would do things like solve the age-old riddle of which came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, it was neither. It was the Chegg. And so this is an actual egg that we scanned on one of those flatbed scanners. And so it turned out surprisingly good. And that was our little mascot for the longest time. And we created a Chegg post to be like a Craigslist-like thing for the school I went to. And yeah, wow, nostalgia. And did that for a long time, and then eventually sold it and moved on. And the current people of Chegg are doing whatever the current people of Chegg are doing. Looks like helping students cheat on homework. That's great. Oops. All right. Well, geez, if only I could create something that beautiful now. I got completely sidelined there. Yeah, so I'm a man of Chegg. All right, so we were creating this register thing. I put this, it's got some validation. We were gonna add the validation down here, but we need to get it, and it's this fluent validation. If you are a .NET developer and you need to do data validation, I'm a really big fan of... Oh, I put this in the wrong spot. We've been doing this weird model where we like nest everything inside of just to keep things copy and pasteable, but of course chat ruined everything for me. ChatGPT, the ruiner of good code. If I code on this giant just giant font, I'm going to be inspired to go more vertical than I already do, which is really already quite vertical. And I'm just playing around with this new framework, and once we get it kind of tidied up and something that I like, I like architecture, I like designing the way that we do things. And so once we get that all in place, then we'll come back and add some helper stuff to get rid of some of the redundant code, like the fact that this is on here every single time. .NET gives you a way to handle things generically. Just wanted to really kind of prove it out. Da, 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 da. I think that's right. Oh, validation problem, obviously. Obviously. I guess while we're, it made me want to show off the the other what check post used to look like before I made it yellow. It was even better. All right, so we're gonna go to 2002. All right, this is what we used to do. These embossed, sort of raised rolling letters that there's probably images that I'm doing actual rollover stuff for because CSS sucked at the time. Oh, nice. If I had the poll of the day and actual votes. So this is live as of 2002. If I had a bunny, I would do various things with it. It looks like most people would pet it or eat it, which is good. Some other people answered differently. We had fun with this. This was a lot of fun. That's funny. Ooh. The web used to be fun. Everything was fun. Like everything you would do is just to make something fun. I want to bring that back to what we got a little bit. Just have a little bit of fun. We're gamers after all. It should be fun. We don't need to sound so blah all the time. I don't want to name names, but people named Jason might sound blah sometimes. No Jason in particular, just people named Jason. Yes, Andrew, CSS still sucks. It's worse now, but it's better at the same time. It's simultaneously amazing with what you can do with CSS, and things like Tailwind are like just super useful, and Bootstrap there for a while made CSS kind of not suck, and it just, there's lots of things that help you. But if you look at any web project, at least half of the, well, that's not working right, is a CSS problem. Just like with infrastructure, it's almost always a DNS problem. CSS is the DNS for the web. All right, this is the most basic little endpoint, but in theory, once I hook it up, we can test it and see that it works, and then we can add some actual, like, make it actually do a registration thing. And again, this is all very redundant code that I'm just doing to kind of test things. There are ways of making this all magic, but I like to have sort of a feel for what code should look like, and then circle back to see, like, okay, now I can find things that I'm finding very redundant and get rid of them. And so instead of trying to pre-plan for all of that to be like, oh, I'm using this, I know I'm going to use this 100 times, what often happens for me is I'll do it once and then rewrite it, and then I wrote all that fancy stuff for no gain. All right, I'm going to test. And this is also going to be from a form, so it should automatically have our anti-forgery magic. This is an example of, oops, I don't want to do that. All right, well, I guess it's going to debug it. I do want to do that. The things are so big, I can't help but click on them. All right, I need to hide that. I need to hide you. I need to probably close you. I need to stop you. We're not ready for you yet. So Andrew, you know that CSS sucks. Are you a web person, coder, front end, back end, full stack, back end for front end, all the things? Where's your life at, or is it just a hobby? We got my trusty token here. We got this, and I'm pretty sure there was an email, there was a password, there was a gamer tag, which I of course will be Mr. Nibble. Full stack. So you're a back-end developer that can do front-end. It sounds like, which is just like me. I'm a full stack developer because it all makes sense. I can touch all the things, but I very much don't want to go all the way to the front. There's nothing fun about the front end of coding. That's where all the users touch stuff and users just break things. And if I stay on the back end, all the users are developers, and I know exactly what to do, and everything makes sense. I forgot all the fields. That's what I get for talking so much. We had a confirm password, and that's it. Just those 4 fields. Not too bad. And we need a confirm password in here. And again, this isn't hooked up to anything. It's just running the validation right now. But I'm hoping, if I debug this one, we get this error because of the way the cross-site request forgery stuff works. So I got to get my token. So now I have my token, and it will send said token. I had mentioned earlier it could be sent in the form field or a cookie. In this case, I'm sending it, form field or cookie. It can be sent in the header as well. Again, something that we can trust the browser to do in a very specific way. And back to request. Send it again. All right, we got nothing but a 200 because we passed our validation. But if I, in theory, mess up that, then I get confirm password. So again, nothing super exciting, but it handles all the easy stuff for us without us having to think about it. If you're a JavaScript developer, it's going to be very similar to any of those validation frameworks. Oh, that's not an at. What is an at? A 40. Okay. So there's lots of things we got to add to this. We got to add unique checks, which we can do as part of Fluent validation for gamer tag. We have checks to make sure password doesn't suck, isn't username, email, that sort of thing, etc. But for purposes of getting through, we have validation happening. All right, Andrew recently got a new UI for your web app from another UI person, and they removed all the bootstrap for only a clean CSS and JS. Yeah. In my other life, I work not very much anymore, but I work with a consulting company that creates websites for companies, but we often don't create the whole website. We create a piece. We're adding a feature to. So we're business to business. We work for other businesses, and they want a new thing for their website, and the consulting company builds it. But we're constantly, like a good 10-20% of the project budget is just making sure that the CSS that we use also works with the bullshit CSS that they use. And yeah, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our login just to kind of follow the path. I know how to use this thing. There we go. Not horizontal. Oh my gosh, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Let's go vertical. Because in my head I was like, I want another one horizontally, but a little backwards. I don't need to. All right, we do a validation, and then we do the actual work. And in our case, we're just going to go straight to the gut and see if we can get this record to go into the database. And so, of course, we need to get access to our database. So we're going to get our application DB context. And I'm going to assume the data is good because we're going to trust Fluent validation. And so with Entity Framework, we deal through this context, and then we'll ultimately call db.save changes, and then that's it. So we don't have to worry about anything. And this lets me code against SQLite and then switch over to Microsoft SQL when we put it onto production, and without having to think about it. And of course, sanity checks, make sure that all this was successful and blah, blah, all this stuff. Well, we'll do it here. But for our thing, we're going to create a new account. Oops. And we need to pass in a request. I know how to code, really. Why is it not finding my account? Oh, because it's named account. I need to rename that because it's conflicting. Okay, so I am a fan of not having direct mapping code, but I don't like to use most mappers because they're slow, oftentimes. Not always, but they're often slow. I am not sure if magic happens to hash the password. Hashing passwords. And so a number of streams ago, because mappers most of the time work with like reflection, where they inspect the object you're trying to pull data from and inspect the object that you're trying to send data to, and it creates little mapping functions between the two, and reflection is slow and having to have all that magic in there. And so a number of streams ago, I rewrote a mapper that LaunchBox itself, the Windows app, uses for pulling data out of the database, which at the time was the XML database. And I rewrote it using .NET's source generators, which was a fun experiment. I really liked it, and I think for these kinds of mappers, I'm going to go try to find a mapper tool that does the same thing. Because again, this is dumb. It's not that many. The game's data, the login thing is only going to be like a dozen endpoints at the end of the day, so if I have to write a few of these things, it's really not a big deal. I wonder why this would be async. In what possible world does this take time? Whatever. They want us to use they want to use async for everything. So we'll do it. I'm really curious. Like, can I see, like, whoops, what possible way that is waiting on something? No, not that way. Whatever. Await all the things. Oh. So when you started the project, you made it all yourself. Andrew's saying after some time, they wanted to change. They sent the whole design, needed to implement, but now I got pure HTML and CSS. That's, yeah. We've been playing with a tool called Figma. Like I said, we have a Ukrainian designer living in Poland, and he uses Figma as his main tool, and he's primarily working on some behind the scenes things. I didn't really give an update on the Linux project, but a lot of that is in the designer's hands right now. We're really just specking out all the different screens and trying to carry some of those into the current solution where it makes sense to do. And the one he's working on right now looks really nice, and it's going to be a nice add and should be something we'll be able to add to the existing Windows application, but it's inspired from how we're planning to sync out the thing. But he's using Figma, and Figma's really cool because it's a drag and drop sort of Photoshop-y Illustrator style designer tool that just gives you the CSS to use for each element, and it's not always perfect, but it's like 80% of the way there. And then we're using Tailwind, which if you're not familiar with Tailwind, it's ultimately, it encourages you to put all your CSS as utility classes directly on your components instead of creating classes that are somewhere else. So you don't really have a traditional CSS file. You just put it straight on your HTML, or in our case, Vue components, and then magic happens behind the scenes. But Figma understands that negotiation and helps quite a bit. And so for the turning the pretty into code, it's relatively straightforward. I wouldn't trust it to be blind. In theory, this will create an account. I guess we'll find out. Again, I changed something here. I didn't change anything. Oh, I deleted that, so I did change something. Like I said, I can't stand badges. Oh, and I forgot that I don't have pixels, so let's go back to here. All right, this will error. I attempted to invoke a deleted method. I probably have to rebuild this thing. Autocomplete often works, or auto build. Well, I got a 200. And again, we're not doing, so we're not doing any like data validation yet. But if I go back to my data tool here, in theory, I'll have some data. I have data, and the password is not being encrypted. That's fine. We'll fix that. So our connection from endpoint to thing here is correct. Perfect. As I'm coding, I like to get to the smallest possible something works point that I can. And so that's why I'm building it the way that I am, where it's like, let's just do a thing and see that work. Because when I don't do it that way, like this morning, I wrote many dozens of lines of code sort of blindly and just wrote it all because I was trying to be quick and efficient. I didn't want to test in between all the iterations, and I just wrote a bunch of code for a different project, and I ended up fighting it the whole time because I had to like fix everything, and sometimes it's hard to get to a working point, but if you can, oh my gosh, it works for me. All right, because we're just straight up stealing this from another application, I kind of want to just look at this. We're ignoring the success and the return URL because that's not really part of how we're coding things anymore. I would like to go to all the places this is getting used, which would be our existing registration form. And in here, there should be a register method. And we can just look to see what it's all doing. And a lot of the code, because this isn't, the old one is an MVC style application, a lot of the code is UI based, and we don't really care about the UI, but it's checking for duplication, which I'd like to put into the Fluent API instead. Also checking for duplicate gamer tag. Again, I'd like to put that into the Fluent API, so it's all part of that same validation model. It asks, I should do that. Because it's going to do the password for me. Obviously, Josh. Which means I don't need this. I'm just going to say that I need the user manager. This is already getting out of sequence with what I like to see. User manager for account. Somebody else already wrote the code, so let's do it. My favorite thing to do in the world is delete code that I don't need to support anymore. User manager. Just like Andrew, I'm sure your favorite thing to do is probably delete all that CSS code and just go back to life without the... All right, so we're going to use you to create the thing. I don't think create, so this user manager is ultimately using code that I wrote offline. I didn't show you this, but this is all the interactions between how .NET wants to do things and how our thing works, because we're repurposing an existing data structure, we can't just use the .NET identity stuff raw. We have to wrap it up. And so it's not that much code. It's a couple hundred lines of code, but it's mostly 2 lines of code per method with a bunch of boilerplate just to handle good tracking. And it does look like create does save it for us automatically. Some of the methods weren't set up that way because you're not supposed to, but I can just do this and then I can pass in the password here, and I don't set it here and it will set it for me. Which honestly means I don't need any of this stuff. I may need that for the duplicate check-it, so I'll leave that in there for now. Though I think we can do it up here because Fluent Validator has a way to do asynchronous checks, which we'd want to do because these are going to like hit the database, and so it'll check all the basic things, and then if all the rules pass, then it will run all the asynchronous ones. And it just does it every time we use that validator, which in our case will just be for this thing. But this should give us the same result if we rerun this and go back. Andrew likes to debug because he feels like a detective. I like to debug too, but I don't know if I associate with being a detective. I think debugging issues is honestly, I agree, it's fun for me too. I really like to do the diagnostics. In some ways I feel like Dr. House from the TV show, because again, a lot of my coding experience is through that consulting company and just making stuff up as I go, and so most of the time you get a bug report, which is like, it don't work. And that's all of the data that you get. And having to chase down an issue based on, my tummy hurts. I feel like Dr. House. And seasons 1 through 2 or 3 were some of the best TV. I loved Dr. House. The show went off the rails, as all shows do after a while, but I really did love that show. All right, I think if I do this, I should still get 200s. Where did my output go? Request completed, but I got an error, but it didn't show anything. Oh, we lost our token. I think this thing resets its cookies or whatever it does behind the scenes every once in a while. So we just have to rerun that. We're still getting 200, so still getting things, but we should have encrypted passwords now. We do! Ah! That's clearly what my password is. I don't know what technology is using behind the scenes. I cannot identify. It doesn't look like bcrypt. Yeah, I don't know. It's salted because it was the same password, but those are 2 different values, so that's good. Probably salted with random data, which is good. Nice. The password is waffles. It's the noise that you make when you put too much syrup on it, for sure. Oh yeah, better than this password. I'm just gonna clean up a little bit here. Delete. Perfect. Okay, let's go back to what this guy, not this guy, what this guy, not this guy, this guy is doing, and that's it. Really, it just does it, and if it's successful, then it tells the user it was successful. And because we're creating just endpoints, we don't have to deal with the UI near as much. That's great. And it does do email verification as well, which we will steal the concept for, probably revamp how messages are being sent a little bit. Technology wise, we use Postmark, I think is the name of the product, to send our one-off emails. So this service here, really quality service. I've been using Postmark since before ActiveCampaign bought them out. It's great, and we send quite a few transactional emails, and so every time somebody, I don't know, does something on the forums or needs their license refreshed, or they're creating an account on the GamesDB, or all the different sort of one-off emails that we send go through Postmark, and we send quite a few. And so the pricing is a little higher than I would prefer. Now, when we send the big emails, like we're going to do probably next week, when we have a release, maybe next week or two, hopefully next week, we have to send a lot of emails because we're sending the same email to a billion different people. Not quite a billion, but it's got zeros. It's got a number of zeros. And to use Postmark would be kind of expensive for that many emails when we like to send those at least once a month. And so we use a different service. We use Amazon's SES service, simple email service, because the pricing is just unbeatable for bulk messages. I would assume that most spam uses SES, just because it's cheaper. Actually, most spam probably just spins up their own SMTP server because they don't really care. We're sending duplicate emails. That's possible. Are you getting more than one? A lot of times for me, I get the same email. I get the LaunchBox email about 12 different times. And it's because over the years I've tested using a bunch of different email addresses. And then as I get new email addresses, I just tell the old one to forward to the new one. And it's a mess. I get so many emails. I need to, at some point, just stop. But, so it could be that. It could be that you actually have the same email in our system more than once. But it's possible we have an issue too. You get 2 emails. Well, the next time, so next week when you get that double email, take a quick look to see if the recipient, your email address looks a little different. And you can just unsubscribe from the one. I think if you hover over the unsubscribe link, you'll see some kind of token on there, and the 2 values should be different. I don't know what the actual value is, but it might just be the email address. But take a look at that. I'm hoping that it's just because you have your email in our system more than once, or 2 different emails in our system more than once, and not because we're actually sending duplicates, because we've been doing the same method for a long time. But yeah, I get the same email like 100 times. I used to like using email as sort of a test system of like, oh, whenever an error happens, I'm going to send myself an email. And then sometimes I forget about that system. And then at some point, something happens and I just get 10,000 emails in the matter of a minute. And then email, I can't deal with my email for an hour because it takes that long to sync all that crap. And well, it's not your fault. Email is a terrible tool. I hate email. Make an official list, things I hate. It's not very many. I don't hate that many things. Things I hate. I hate email. I hate printers. I hate Bob from high school. Only person I've ever could say that I hate is a guy named Bob. I very much dislike Bob. He has not left my head. I very much dislike Bob. Emails, printers, and Bob. Is there anything else I hate? I really don't like the sound of, and I think this is the scientific name for it. What is the word? Like eating noises? I really can't stand eating noises. Mastication, that's the word. Yeah, I don't like mastication. Mastication? Is that how you spell it? No, I forgot the C. Okay, I hate mastication noises. It looks so dirty, but what else do I hate? The things I dislike list would be a lot longer, but actual hatred might just be limited to these 4 things, and all of them is because I have bad experience. Like email, being an IT guy, I've had to deal with email like my whole life, and it sucks. Printers never work, and then when you're creating reports and people need it to print exactly this way so that it shows up through a window on an envelope, and this printer prints it different from that printer, and that piece of paper needs to be on a salmon colored copy stock, and this one needs to be on, it's just, I hate the notion of printers. Bob was an absolute tool, not a nice guy, and I don't know where this one comes from. But I am a religious close your mouth while you're eating person, and I will defriend you if I'm near you and I hear you talking and it's because of something that you could control. So FYI. Anyways, emails. So the way that the old system is working is it's sent through Postmark, and it's all rendered in here, I think, via Razor, which is a decent model, but I don't know how I want to do it. Postmark itself does support the concept of templates, which would let us just say, here's the values to put it in there. So I got to play with that. I don't know what email is going to look like. And that's it. So we're going to ignore email. We're going to ignore account verification for the time being. But I think now that we've created this password, I wonder, can I log in with it? No. Why? Required parameter return URL, because I was playing with return URLs, because that's how the single sign-on stuff's gonna work. Somewhere else. I don't actually know what the URL encoded thing is, so let's just say return URL is somewhere else. Missing required persistent. Oh. I don't know if this is still a thing on the web. Remember my login. But let's assume that it is. I just set that to true. Does any place not do it that way? Does any, like, what's a random site that I can go to? All right, the one that everyone likes to use, Amazon, right? If I just go to sign in. No, there's no option. It's just gonna remember you because it's better user experience. So I think we're just gonna change that. Let's just change it right now before I forget. We are just gonna remember your login. You could use incognito mode if you don't want to be remembered. So Andrew, I wonder if you do the same thing with your email. So I have a couple of domain names that I have like alias accounts for, where like anything at that thing, whatever it is, I don't want to dox myself and you guys spam me, but whatever. So I have my own domains. And so when I sign up for a new thing that I don't really know anything about, I'll like, let's say I was going to sign up for, I can't even think of an example, whatever, Twitch, right? I would just do this, because then I can come back in later and say, block this guy, don't do this. But I can also sort of simultaneously see, like, I'm getting weird Twitch emails for things unrelated to Twitch. And so I know that somehow Twitch's data was compromised. But again, I can still just say, don't send that email, block that one. And it's honestly because of this that I end up with duplicate things, because I'll forget that I have an account because I forgot to put it in my password manager, or I was testing something else. Yeah, the relay is probably an easier option than what I do. I'm an odd duck. I use an Apple phone, and I do use its sort of don't show my email address thing whenever it gives me the choice. You're getting me on a tangent, but I was playing around with a new browser that I feel like is one of the first new browsers that's based off of Gecko. And I don't know why it's giving me the new user experience here because I've already been here. But Zen, I think it's based off of Gecko. And it's nice. It's so simple. It's similar in spirit to like what Arc was trying to do. I do like Firefox as a tool. I use it for testing a lot of times. It's stable. It does what it does. But I like to play with new browsers because you never know what's going to be different. And since 99% of the world is run on Chromium, I'm pretty sure this one uses Gecko behind the scenes. Well, Focusborg, you showed up. You're late. Oh, I'm probably talking too loud. I appreciate that. I did. So we use a tool. So I have a very expensive video card. And so we use this tool, NVIDIA Broadcast. And largely because I do this, because I have people that are noisy and kids and stuff. But they recently updated it after having not updated it for what felt like a year. But it made everything louder. It made me louder specifically. Let me just tell OBS that I don't want to be so loud. All right. Hopefully that's a little bit better. And I'll stop yelling at the mic. I do need to learn more about how that's set up because I think you can put like gates and stuff on stuff. I don't know. It's all too fancy. I'm no streamer. This is not my profession. Got me so distracted with what I was doing. I got the login was not working because it needed persistent, and I was going to come in here and get rid of that, so I did. And now we need to just say yes. Always. Always remember. You never need to not know who I am. Because once you log into the game ZB, you're in for life. No escape. It's like the Bates Motel of websites. Until your cookies get cleared out. Maybe that's all they needed to do. Sign-in credentials are incorrect. Just silly because I told it what password to use here. But let me just... I probably have like a million accounts still. Let me check that. I did refresh these things. The refresh button. I do have 2 accounts. Alright, let's just delete them both. Delete. 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 Register. Login. The sign-in credentials you've provided are incorrect. Why is that? And of course, we could have a different error. Let's be a detective, Andrew. All right, the validation is successful. It's looking for that, which it doesn't find me? How does it not find me? There is no way that should not work. I'm confident. Find by email async. Oh, it's normalizing emails. I was wondering what that was doing. Let me just set a breakpoint there. And we'll click this again. It's probably uppercasing everything, because how else would you normalize something? Yeah, go in. Oh, I just hit right past it because I'm an idiot. Let's do it again. Normalize email is, yeah, way uppercase. All right. But I thought Entity Framework is using SQL, obviously behind the scenes. And this is the SQL that's running. This should not be case sensitive because SQL is not typically case sensitive. I wonder if it tells it to be case sensitive. Or I have a really weird typo, then I'm an idiot. Run this again. All right, well, just for grins, what if this was stored normalized? That timed out. Please verify your message. Okay, so account verification is built in, but it got past it. So the normalization, so it is case sensitive. I guess I could just, knowing that that's what it does. Oh, I'm doing the uppercase thing here. Dur. I'm curious what prefer using. Function is not convertible SQL. Oh, okay. Is string dot equals comparison? String dot equals ordinal ignore case. Okay, so let's go back to our data. Put this back to how I typed it. It doesn't like that. All right. So it's curious that it didn't store the normalized copy, but I think Entity Framework, the built-in Microsoft identity, actually stores both the original email and the normalized one. And this is all, so it's normalizing it here. But this was normalized before it even got here. Yeah, I'd be happy to denormalize email. I don't know if you were on the stream when I was writing down things I hate. Email's on the list. It's top of the list. Printers, Bob, and chewing noises. They're the only things I can think of that I hate. And this is part of the reason. Just there's no reason for this to not work because it's SQL. All right, what is maybe ChatGPT? Not ChatGPT. Stupid Copilot. I would like this entity framework. If I could type. Call to be case insensitive. What did you suggest? To just fix the emails. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go back to figure out what was capitalized because I think it was this. I need to get rid of this breakpoint. Yeah, what's normalizing you? This is from that. Does this show me code? It normalizes it. Okay, can I replace the normalizer? There's a key normalizer. Upper invariant lookup normalizer. I guess I could just call. All right, well, let's just trust this thing and say this would be to upper. What's this little message here? Let's give that a go. I kind of want to see it add the upper in the sequel. Because as I understand, not that email addresses are international, but I understand that uppercase is a safer normalization than lowercase, because some languages treat lowercase letters weird. I forgot what I was doing. I was going to test this. I kind of want to just see what the... Oh, it does. Look at that. It automatically wraps that, which means it should have worked. It did, because now we're just verifying the email address. Cool. Cool. All right, so next up is this email verification thing. And we gotta do it without email verification because, well, we're gonna use email still, because we do need to make sure, because we do get a lot of spam things across our sites, and if this login is going to be handling the forums, then this becomes the first line of defense for all those bots that want to. We might have to ramp up the checks we do, because I know the forum does a lot of built-in spammy checks for new accounts. We'll have to figure out how to repurpose some of those concepts for what we need as well. But we do get a lot of, I just signed up and I got immediately banned emails too, because of IPs that people are using that somebody else used for spamming, or they're spammers and they're just asking support to to let them in, and we have no way to verify them as humans, so we just like, sure. Going back here, I'm kind of curious what goes into this email that we're currently sending. So we create an account verification record. Now I know that Microsoft's identity thing has these tokenization things built in. And so we don't need to use our own code. We can just use whatever code .NET has. I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I don't think you access it through the user manager, but maybe. Token generate. Oh, look at that. Generate email confirmation token. And that returns a token. And I don't think it has to store it. I think it's using similar to the password encryption, where this token uniquely will trace back to this user. Verification token. And then we're going to email it back to the user. But for our purposes now, we'll just return it in our response. I think we'll just dump that here and tell .NET that we're going to have this thing return a string. Oops, that's not the way you do that. Can I implicitly convert HTTP result okay with, oh, because I didn't await. Of course I didn't await. I don't actually want to do this. So the coding style for the rest of the project insists that we use these. I think ReSharper has a really cool feature where I can ask it and it will tell me. And so it's this, and this is what I want. And I would like editor config, because that's my preference. And I would like this. Then I could just go to my editor config, Of course, when you inherit a big project that other people have been maintaining for a long time, you really want to try to model what other people are doing. But there's some things that I can argue why it makes sense. And this one, I don't know if I can do that. I just like it better. It's so much simpler, and it tells you what it is right there, and it's shorter, it's simpler, and it makes copy and pasting a little simpler. All right, so I would like to use var, yes, and I don't know if I'd go so far as to call it a warning, but we'll stick with that, see how much we hate it. And then it automatically fixes it. Nice. I love that feature from ReSharper. Because then, with it being editor config, no matter if somebody's using Visual Studio Code or Writer or Visual Studio itself, it'll just work. So we got the token, we're going to return it back to the user. So let's at least test that. Again, test small pieces. Run it. Register another account, because we're not doing duplicate checking yet. Get rid of this. Get back to here. Okay, so this is our... Oh, we're gonna have to stuff that in email. That's a big long one, but it works. But this will mean we get to delete a table in our database that we're not actually using, other than for this one little feature. It's all built in. All right, that does mean we're gonna create, I think we'll have time. We're going to create the thing that will be the link that somebody clicks on. Validate or confirm email. We'll just call it what it is. Confirm email. We'll go through the whole process again. And we don't need any of this because it's going to be in the URL. We don't need validation. It'll just work or not. Oh, this is my first multi-word endpoint in this project. And using RESTful style things should it be confirm email underscore, I think dash. All right, we don't need you. We don't need you. We do need you. And we'll get a token. And we delete. Don't need any of this stuff. So now we can probably await user manager confirm email async. We do need to get the user. So we do need to identify the user. Okay, we'll get that somehow. Probably pass along the email address too. Yeah, I think probably pass along the email. Or some encrypted ID. We'll figure out what that's supposed to be. Secure email in link. So it's not like terribly insecure, but let's just assume we get that. So then we're going to use user manager, find by email. Some kind of, I guess we're using the validation thing. I just wanted to return, we'll just have a return okay for now because it's nice and simple. Bad. And then this returns a results. then we're good. I think we'll just return a normal okay. Otherwise, I don't know what could possibly fail. I guess the token could be bad. Do have to review what kind of error messages it can return. Typed results. And again, just using OK for now because it's right there, but result.errors. We have a code and a description. That's not how you link. Oh, I think I want that. This is all temporary. You just write whatever code you want. Oh, duh. I don't really care. Just put a space. This isn't final code, computer. I bet I don't need this. I bet it's accepting an enumerator. Perfect. Fuck, you says your email is gonna stay weird. Is it just a weird name? Is like one of those things when you're at the kiosk at Starbucks and you're like, hey, you want to sign up for this thing? Give me your email address, and it's really embarrassed. Something you have to say out loud. It's like, oh, it's Booty Snatcher 224 or something silly. Are you a meme? Oh, I'll be good to get rid of this thing. I'll keep. Oh my gosh, I can't type. Okay, let's see if our flow works. Gonna go back to our database, do some deleting. If I can remember how to use this tool. Refresh. Delete. Run. I have the trouble that nobody can spell Mr. Nibble, so I can't use that publicly. Because of course, everyone assumes it's like Mr. Not even this, because that's something like that. But that is somebody else entirely. Alright, so you're gonna recreate our account. This is our magic token. Just gonna put that in my clipboard real quick, because if you try to log in, it's gonna say, please verify your thing. And so, oh my gosh, I would like to add another endpoint, which is going to be a get a bunch of stuff with this token. And the email, which we'll just hard code in there for now. Oh my gosh, I need to see more. That does not look like URL encoded. It's got a plus in there. I can't trust that. So a tool that I have on all of my computers is DevToys. It's free. It's all written in .NET using Blazor. It's kind of cool. Runs completely offline, so nothing gets sent to any servers anywhere, which I like. But it has all the basic things that you need. So I would like to encode this. Rate you. Oh my gosh, it got longer. Of course it did. So we can put that over here. and then my email. So anyways, dev toys, that's got to go on the computer. Power tools, that's got to go on the computer too. I can't live without that. LaunchBox, obviously, that's actually step one. Got to be able to play game. So yeah, LaunchBox, dev toys, power tools, Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio. Been trying to love Data Grip. I'm sort of liking it so far. Every browser known to man. So I have Brave, Firefox, Zen, Chrome, Edge. Those are the main ones that I use on a regular basis for testing and doing stuff. What else is on all my computers? Oh, Git Kraken. That's our my Git tool. I use the one built into Visual Studio oftentimes, but if I need to do anything really intense, I'll switch over to Git Kraken. All right, in theory, I can do this, and I'll get an error because I probably did not change that to a Git. So we'll go back to here, try it again. It did not pick up my change, so we'll rebuild. Hot reload is a hot mess. It rarely works. Invalid token. So it's either exceptionally URL encoded and it doesn't like it, but let's just see that we're getting it. I'm about at the end of the time that I had for today, so I'm gonna set a breakpoint here and see if it's an obvious fix. And if so, we'll fix it. If not, I will take it offline. We're gonna do the thing. Token is big ugly thing, which looks correct. Can I do something to copy this so I can put it in my little copy and paster thing so I can compare it to the other one? All right, that's the token that it got, and that's the token we should have. So they look the same. They are the same. Make sure we're finding our user. We got me. Confirm email async. Just doing all the same stuff. We have our account and our token. And the result was invalid. Okay, something obvious, I'm sure, behind the scenes, maybe some casing, or the URL is not getting. Though that's correct, that was correct. It's not that. We'll figure it out. But I think I'm gonna start wrapping it up here. Made some progress today. Only a handful of things left to do, really, to kind of finish that off. I'll make a quick little list. This will help me later. This won't be the things I hate. This will be things I love. The rest of my to-do here. Things I love to do later. We're gonna figure out how emails are gonna work. Probably do some service for, and I use service in the Gang of Four pattern style thing. We're gonna have an email service for sending of confirmation emails primarily. And forgot password and those sorts of things. We have to fix the token checker for password, for account creation. We have to have forgot password flows built out, which is just a few different endpoints and another email. And then the fun one, which I'm actually looking forward to, in the GamesDB project itself, we get to just delete a bunch of stuff and add OAuth. Which means figuring out how to get OpenID dict. I still don't know how to say that. Client on GamesDB and register server, or register client on server. And that's the high level list. Not too bad. a couple more days, I think, should do that. So hopefully sometime next week we are testing some of this. It's not going to be the whole account management. Like if you go to the games DB and you log in, there's ways of changing your email address and there's ways of updating your account. I'm not going to touch any of that. This is all about this login experience to get into the system. And once you're in, then I'll let it handle it for the time being. But that would be the immediate step 2, is to finish ripping out all of those things. And then we'll have a pseudo single sign-on solution for a single thing, I guess, for just GamesDB, I guess, and feature base and the feedback form. So then we'll have 2. The forums I'm not looking forward to because it's a PHP based system and I haven't touched PHP in forever, but I think it natively supports OAuth, which I'm hoping for, because then I don't have to code anything. I just tell it the server and the secrets and all that stuff, and honestly that will get us pretty close to the end. And since we're going to just throw Bitbucket into a garbage fire, we don't have to worry about single sign-on for that. I think we're close. Well, I appreciate everyone sticking through for a couple of hours as we made some progress here. I will be back on my normal schedule next week, Tuesday at midday for me. It's in Discord, and we'll send out the alerts as we usually do. But check Discord, there's an event. I guess I could just show ya. So in Discord, there is this event section up here, which we're in here, and then you can click on events and see the timing for all of what we have going on. And right now it's just a couple of streams. We have 2 every week, me on Tuesdays usually, and I'll be there next Tuesday, and Farron with the fire and the emoji. I like that emoji, that's nice. Is that what we're doing to Bitbucket? He's on Thursdays talking about community things, and he may at some point start using the feedback forum as a talking point to start going through submissions. We want to be a lot more transparent with everything so we don't end up with this again. Which we're going to avoid by all means necessary. I don't even know how to use this thing because it's so crappy. There's some way I can get to the issues. I don't want to pay you guys money. Oh my gosh, there's a button somewhere. I don't really care. I don't have it. I'm not logged in. That's why I'm in a incognito mode. That makes sense. So appreciate everyone's time, and we'll see you again next week. And tell your friends. We'd love to get more people to come to these things. If there's anything that we can do to make it more for you, let us know. Always open to feedback, and right now there happens to be a way for you to submit that feedback. Though I guess, Farron, we might want to consider a non-application specific forum for just generalized feedback of what we could do better as a company, or as a group of people and a team and a community. Maybe there'd be some good suggestions through that. But thanks, everyone. We'll talk again soon. And until then, ta-ta for now.